How did you get into the motel game?
In 20 years of game, I could figure out with the aerial view that there is the least headache and most profitability.
You get free living, unbelievable cash flow. The banks support them greatly. I mean,
Yep,
even
you
on
can
the
gear up.
lease, you
Yep.
gear up, so you
Yep.
make money on the bank's money.
Yeah.
And if you're a good operator, you can also make capital gain.
The good thing about the motel industry, you can't fudge anything.
That's a very good point that you make about our industry. There is a lot of due diligence that gets done along the way to make sure this is right.
If I had to operate a petrol station, at any time, I've got $500,000 under the tank. That's my stock. In motel, almost zero.
Welcome to Checked In with Resort Brokers. I'm Frank.
And I'm Trudy. Join us as we explore the intricate world of the wider Australian accommodation industry.
We're going to walk you through the ever-evolving landscape of hotels, motels, caravan parks, management rights and the communities, but most importantly, the stories that underpin them all.
From market trends and expert predictions to the incredible personal stories and lessons learned, we're going to cover it all.
Join us as we navigate this amazing industry together. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Checked In with Resort Brokers. I'm here again with my fabulous co-host, Trudy Crooks, Managing Director of Resort Brokers. Good morning, Trudy.
Good morning, Frank. I'm very excited.
Very
about our next
excited.
guest.
We have got a very special guest who's flown up all the way from Sydney this morning, up to Brisbane.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us. We've got Irfan Kureshi, who's from Infinitive Finance Solutions from Sydney. He's got offices in Canberra. Irfan, you've known Trudy and Resort Brokers for a little while, so I'm going to hand it over to Trudy to introduce you a little bit more and get the conversation started. But thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Well, we've got to know each other in a short period of time, really.
Yeah.
I can't believe that we didn't know each other earlier,
Yeah.
since you and your clients would probably have to be the biggest buyers of motels as a collective of anyone in the last 2 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And couldn't be better than that.
So explain who are your clients,
Yep.
and then we'll talk about why they got into hotels.
And there's been, so just to give some context
Yeah.
there, we're looking at over 100 clients
Yeah.
and over 130 assets
Yeah.
in what period of time?
So 2.5 to 3 years.
In 2.5 or 3 years. That's about a hotel a minute by my calculation.
Almost,
yeah, okay. No worries. Let's go.
Yeah. So I've been in the finance industry for over 20 years.
Yes.
Started my own business 8 years ago.
Yes.
And purely do a lot of commercial finances.
Okay.
So in 20 years, I have a very good aerial view of 15 years ago, my clients bought a cafe or a porto, or they bought a fuel station. And last 5 years, they bought a motel, where they stand at the moment. And that gives me a very clear aerial view that who has done what and who stands where. Among these, my clients in motel, they have actually grown fastest compared to all other clients. And there are a lot of reasons behind, but I'll just point out few reasons.
Yes.
That, for example, I pick up a food industry. In last 4-5 years, the wages has gone significantly up.
Yep.
The food cost has gone significantly up. If I compare that to motel, if I have a 20-room motel, 30-room motel, or 40-room motel, I only have one on-site manager. So my wage is streamlined.
Yes.
So as soon as my turnover goes up, my wages doesn't go up that much. So my
No,
profit
it doesn't.
goes down.
Not quite. There's economies of scale, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes. So you got a cleaner's wages, but
Yes.
cleaners come part-time between 9:30 to 2 o'clock.
And it depends, I suppose, on how hard you want to
Exactly.
work, because you can do a lot of it yourself.
Absolutely.
Or not.
So-
Depending on the type of business. You know, a lot of our clients would wait till Monday and not pay weekend pay. We can't do that in food,
Retail,
can
exactly.
you?
And
That's
the
right,
most
it's a-
busiest
yeah.
time, and most busiest times are Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where you're paying the highest wages.
So,
Exactly.
so this is kind of what we're talking about. The overall theme for today is, Maccas or motels. Which one should our clients be looking at? But overarchingly, we're trying to understand why motels are such an investment that is very much worthy of your time to look at, right?
No, absolutely. So, as I said, if I compare to industry, so a lot
Yes.
of my clients actually migrating from fuel industry, from
Yes.
retail industry
Yes.
into the motel. Because they can see when we talk to them and when we share our experiences, our client experiences, they can see that, for example, in fuel station, if I had to operate a petrol station, at any time, I've got $500,000 under the tank. That's my stock. In motel, almost zero.
Almost zero.
I don't
And
need
free
my
living.
rooms. My rooms are my stock, which I'm keep reselling, and I make money out of it.
And they're amazing cash flow.
Absolutely.
And there is not enough of them across the country.
True.
And there's not going to be many built in this climate.
Correct.
So therefore you would say that...
Demand and supply, yeah.
Yeah, so then you say that they're just going to be more and more profitable.
Yeah.
You get to live on site.
Correct.
So you're buying yourself a home and a business. And the other thing is, and we've said this before, you have to like people.
Oh,
because
you
you're
do
dealing
need
with
to
the
really do
public.
need to like people.
But you can come from other industries,
Yeah.
and a lot of it is common sense. You don't,
Exactly.
you know.
Yes.
Well, that's a
Yes, we
really
have-
interesting part. Sorry, but just to clarify that, like coming from that other industries is kind of your speciality, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're seeing them come from, that food industry
Yeah.
or some of those hospitality-based businesses into Motel.
Yeah. So as I said, fuel industry or the retail industry. So for example, fuel industry, even the petrol station is doing fantastic turnover. It does not actually directly affect the market value of the property. While in motel, as soon as my turnover goes up, business goes up, my ADR goes up, my market value of my asset goes up. And this
Absolutely.
is one of the reason a lot of my fuel station clients, they couldn't gear up against their existing assets.
Because the more business that they're doing, it's not actually increasing the overall value.
Because
of
of fuel stations, as you know, the banks right now, I'm just giving an example.
No, please, love that,
Few
yeah.
banks, they are saying, okay, we're not going to fund any metal tanks. Majority in Australia, all the fuel stations are metal tanks.
Yep.
And they have contamination issues. So environmental laws are getting more stricter and stricter.
Absolutely.
That's where, I'm not saying the market value doesn't go up, it goes up. But if I compare with my motel industry, is significant difference.
So it's almost, sorry, Trudy, you go ahead.
Yes, sorry. So just to drill in on that, so fuel stations, we've sold a few roadhouses
Yeah.
and so on. They're still sold on a factor of profit,
Yep.
right? Whether
Absolutely.
it's a lease or a freehold with
Yep.
the franchise. So from
Yep.
that point of view, it's quite similar.
Yep.
What kind of multiples have some of your clients sold recently if they're a fuel station?
Yeah. So a lot of my clients actually, they're entering into motel industry, they're transitioning at the moment.
Yes.
So they have sold some of their assets.
Yes. And
which
what multiple would they got, or what yield would have they been sold?
Okay,
those
so
on?
fuel stations get, it is a little bit different
Yes.
yield base compared to the motel.
Okay.
Because motel, when you are selling as a freehold going concern,
Yes.
it's more of a yield based on the profitability.
Yes.
We look at between 10 to 12, 13%.
Yes.
Service stations are, the business value is a little bit higher, but the property value is not that high. So if I combine together, we're looking at yield around between 8 to 9%.
And is that because the rent isn't as high a factor of the profit?
Correct.
Okay.
Is the volatility part of that as well? Like, is there any, is that impact what those yield?
As I said, I'm from finance, so I'll look at everything in the finance perspective. So as I said, motels and fuel stations. So fuel stations, for the banking perspective, bank finance perspective, the fuel stations are not there.
What's the LVR you can get on a petrol station?
So petrol station between 50 to 60%.
Okay.
While motel side up to 70% LVR.
Yeah. Yes.
So
You're
that's the
one of
difference.
You're one of the few that can still get 70%.
Yeah, I
So-
do 70%.
And so obviously you've done a huge amount of transactions.
Absolutely.
So therefore you'll have credibility with the credit people in the
Correct.
bank.
Yeah.
And there's only one person in all the major banks who can sign off on accommodation deals, no matter who you deal with.
Yeah.
And I imagine you talk directly to that.
Absolutely.
But how are you able to get such high LVRs? And what do you provide above and beyond the trading numbers that we would provide
Yeah.
when we're selling a property?
Okay. So as I said, the LVR, my clients are, majority of the clients are existing business owners.
Yes?
Okay. That helps a lot because they have few businesses, they have a stronger cash flow in those businesses.
Yes.
They are actually diversifying into motel industry.
Yes.
So not necessarily motel operators, other business owners from other
Correct.
industries,
Yes.
Other
right?
industry, yeah.
And so they're diversifying into the motel
Correct.
industry.
So when we started doing motels 4 years ago, those were brand new to the industry. Now those customers are actually 4 years in the industry, great operators, have done a fantastic in capital growth, want to buy another motel. So that's where these clients are actually entrepreneurs. They're already in the business for 10 years. So that makes a lot easier for bank when they look at their finances, fantastic business operator, the 3 businesses doing that much of profit.
Yes.
And gearing level and the serviceability, the two aspects when we do the loan.
Yep.
So obviously, serviceability all ticks up.
Yep.
Gearing comes in place automatically.
Can you only get 70% if they have another business that's also producing
necessarily.
cash flow, or as long as you're buying it at the right return?
Right return. So again, as I with our Grafton deal,
Yes.
you know, we
Yes.
managed 70% funding on that.
Yeah, which is
Okay.
incredible. But you were able to, and I know when we had those conversations, you know, you could see real strength or future
Absolutely.
growth, right?
And it's all about the overall product as well. So
Yes.
when the product's fantastic, the ADRs are pretty good, the occupancies are historical occupancies pretty good.
Yes.
Banks are coming on party with 65, 70%.
So we were talking offline about, do you deal with new people to the market or existing? And there's a little bit of a shift.
Combination of both.
So when you're talking, depending on whether there's someone who's existing as motel operators or business owners, we say the things that the banks are really looking for. What are the bones of that business? What are those things that the bank is really looking for?
Okay, so it is very, very good business plan and very good cash flow projections.
Yeah.
And all the assumptions made on that. So we look at
Yep.
the occupancy reports.
Yes.
We look at your ADRs.
Yes.
What is the growth in ADR?
The trend.
The trend.
Yep.
All those reports, when you supply it to bank, it makes huge difference.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. And obviously, bank is always about payback. If this client is able to pay us back or not.
Yeah.
So
they just want to protect their interest, right? But they are in the business of lending money.
Correct. And they
Yes.
also have a second way out of their other businesses where they are also generating good cash flow from those businesses.
Tell me, over the 4 years that you've been in the motel space,
Yeah.
and I would, in a minute, I want you to tell us how you got into it yourself, right? But in the 4 years, have you seen that the appetite from the banks has got stronger? I mean, we are seeing so much new capital and so many new buyers come
Yeah.
into the space, because I think it's one of the few industries that hasn't yet been amalgamated.
Yeah.
You know, and I think also it just that they used to be seen as a little bit left of centre, a slightly high risk
Yeah.
investment, and I think now with the driving factors of population growth
Yeah.
and the fact that we travel, and Australia is such a big country, and that we love a holiday,
Absolutely.
you know, is a really good perfect storm, and the fact that there's not many new ones that are going to come
True.
for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. So you nailed it. So pre-COVID,
Yep.
you can see the ADRs were quite low.
Yes, too low.
So only owner-operator models were working. So
Yep.
anyone buying a freehold going concern model, they stay in the motel, runs the motel in full time.
So it's that owner-operator model, right?
So what happened after COVID? The ADR has gone up.
Yep.
As soon as the ADR, what are the difference of ADR? Is actually your net profit.
Well, because the money's in the profit of
Exactly.
the occupancy.
and so that encourages.
So what happens? The turnover gone up.
Yep.
Okay. The profitability, the percentage of the profit has gone up as well, because the ADR has gone up significantly pre-COVID and after COVID.
Yes.
So back to your question, that bank's appetite. So again, bank's appetite goes on the payback. If I lend you money, you'll be able to pay back. You have a stronger ADR, turnover has gone up, profitability is higher up. Obviously, banks are more open.
Well, there's a bit more fat in the profit, isn't there?
Exactly.
There's a bit more movement.
And not only that, they also seen that 3-4 years ago.
Yep.
I'll give my own example.
Yes.
The bottom motel.
Yes.
Obviously, the ADR stronger, the occupancy is stronger.
Yes.
The market value of the assets gone like 2/3 time higher in 2 years.
I mean,
time.
I have been doing selling motels for the first one at 19, so
At least 3 years. At least 3 years.
23 years ago. And until COVID, yields hadn't moved.
Yeah.
Leases across the board were 30%.
Yeah.
Investments were 9 really, and then they moved pre-COVID to 8
Yeah.
for good properties. And then going concerns were always 14 to 15.
Yep.
And that's why the split model works so well, because if you had a 30% lease and a 9%,
Correct.
14.6 is a going
Absolutely.
concern. Now, that did not change for 18 years.
Yeah.
And then post-COVID,
COVID suddenly changed.
we've just had this perfect storm.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have done some proudly record deals where sub-9. I mean, in Victoria, we've done going concerns,
Yeah.
mid-8s,
Yeah.
going concerns. and we had multiple bids.
Yeah.
You know, we also did a deal in Armidale that was sub 9.
Yeah.
So I'm amazed at how tight they got. Obviously,
Yep.
that's driven by the cost of money.
Yep.
But I'm amazed now because there's so much demand
Yeah.
that they're staying tight,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
No, absolutely. And is LVR and everything obviously is case to case based. So when we present the case to the bank, is sometimes 70%, 65%, 60%, but majority of the cases,
Yes.
because the motel industry overall is blooming and the ADRs are strong, the profitability is stronger. We have actually managed to get the LVR which desired by clients. Some of the customers, they don't want to hire LVR. So
Are you finding that is across the board, or is it location specific, or is it, you know, obviously it will fluctuate a little bit, but what's your
It's business.
business. So
Yeah.
obviously, as I said, payback, the cash
Yep.
come from the business. Yes, there are some banks, not all banks, some banks have some sort of restrictions that in this regional area, the population of the town and all sort of things matters. But as I said, our client base, they are migrating from the other businesses.
So they're experienced operators,
exactly.
right? Yep.
They have a residential assets, good property portfolio, a commercial property portfolio. So when we present overall, bank look at the aerial view, fantastic client. Yes, we have regional policy of these, but clients have other assets. Let's combine together and come
I
up with
think
a
that
solution.
comes down to you. You're not giving yourself enough credit.
Yeah.
How did you get into the motel game?
Okay, so as I said, in 20 years of game, I could figure out with the aerial view that where is the least headache and most profitability. And I cannot talk even more than
that's your
this
secret sauce?
secret sauce.
That's your secret. Least
is-
headache, most profitability. Keep
And
it
that
simple.
is
Correct.
motels.
Yeah.
That's model. Because as I said, the ADR gone up.
Yep.
You can run on the management model, still you can make a significantly amount of profit compared to other industry.
And I mean, it's quite unique that you can free living,
Yeah.
that you get unbelievable cash flow,
Correct.
that the banks support them greatly. I mean,
Yep,
even
you can
on a
gear up.
lease, you
Yep.
can gear up, so you
Yep.
make money on the bank's money.
Yeah.
And if you're a good operator, you can also make capital gain.
Well, that was a
effectively.
really
I mean,
interesting
that's got
point.
everything, right?
Yeah.
That was a really interesting point, and you mentioned it earlier, Irfan, is the influence of the work that you can do
Yeah.
to make a difference to the value of your business.
And that's
right?
the
So you can
beauty.
grow your business
Yeah.
and grow the value. You know, your yield can get better and it's worth more, which helps you grow your business even more, which
Yeah.
is, you know, what you were saying with some of those other industries, that all the work that you put in might not have much of a difference on the value of your
Value,
business.
yeah.
Where if you've got great ideas and you put some blood, sweat, and tears into this, it can really affect your, you know what they say, the sometimes the money is in the buying and not the selling,
That's
Yeah.
right? So the work that you do up front,
Yeah.
right, and the enduring your
That's a dad
business.
classic.
Is it really?
Yeah,
I've got
it
it.
is.
Probably referencing him.
Yeah,
Thank you,
exactly.
Ian.
Yeah, and a lot of my clients are in this,
please.
which are in the second wave now, who already bought motels 3-4 years ago, they actually finding it. They're finding diamond in rough.
Diamonds, because they know what they're looking for and they know
Exactly.
what their experience
What's a
is.
diamond in the rough? Tell me what you think.
Varnambur. So
What was that, sorry?
So there is a motel, the transaction,
Yes.
which is similar to diamond in rough. Fantastic location, fantastic area. You can see all the other motels doing a very quite high ADR. Particularly this motel required a lot of work, good management, and you can lift it up.
Yeah,
So,
Without a
okay.
doubt.
without a doubt. So 12 months time, if anyone comes in, give 12 months, inject some cash into it for the renovation.
Reposition it a bit.
Reposition it, digital marketing, online presence. That motel will be, if not double, but very close to double
I
the
agree.
price.
Oh, wow.
I agree.
And there's a diamond in rough, and there are a lot of properties. My clients are especially looking who's coming the second wave. They're buying now second motel or third motel.
Because really that deal that we've done,
Yeah.
which we can't talk about yet
Yeah.
because it's not settled, but
Yeah.
that's probably not a first time buyer property, is
Correct.
it?
No.
Because
It's not for everyone.
no, because you need to
Correct.
back yourself and you need to have confidence in
Yeah.
what it can do. I mean, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think that's the opportunity of a lifetime,
Absolutely.
which is why I think I called you
Yeah.
and said, get in your
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
You need to go and have a look at this.
Correct.
Tell me what of your clients, what has been for them the biggest challenges from moving into the motel space? Like obviously it's been very positive,
Yeah.
but what has been the challenges and what do you think as agents we could do through the process to help them understand, particularly first-time buyers?
Okay, so very good question. So obviously people are coming from either from the retail industry, from the
Yes.
food industry. So they don't know anything except food. So and it's a hard job. Food is you're always on your feet. So contradictory to your question, my clients actually finding a lot easier to enter into the motel industry compared to entering other industry.
There is some overlaps, like you've got a customer service, a people mindset.
Correct.
You've got that customer service mentality is
Yeah.
kind of
Hard
ubiquitous
to make
across
profit
it.
out
Yeah.
of food.
Very hard.
But then that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
That's why this is so attractive.
Correct. And it's all about the money as well. So your margins. On a working in a franchise, you make hardly 6-7% margin on
And
it.
you're giving a lot away.
Exactly. And
yeah.
I feel sorry about a lot of customers when I see the franchise, they don't want to pay higher wages in the weekend. So the whole family work on Saturday, Sundays.
Oh, because they don't want to pay the
Exactly.
double time or whatever
Exactly.
is the going rate. So you take that upon yourself because you're a business owner,
owner.
and that's what you have to do.
Correct.
Yeah.
So these people, as I said, they're not finding difficulty at all. They're finding it a lot easier to entering into the industry because
Well, it's easy to make money, bums and beds, right? Really?
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
Because that's a
Really?
motivation.
Clean room, good
Yeah.
bed,
Yeah.
good pillows.
you're not
Really, that's
manufacturing
what
any.
you-
Remember, the biggest thing in motel industry, what I love about, you're not manufacturing anything.
That's right. You're selling you're selling time and space.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting.
And that's the beauty of this other thing, business interruption. So a lot of other business, for example, I'll give you an example.
Yes.
My client had a fuel station. The truck came in and took the canopy off.
Yes.
So completely fuel station shut down for 2.5 months.
Yes.
With completely outside their control.
No control. With motor industry, if my 2 rooms break down or I want to renovate 5 rooms, I got 40-room motel. I can do throughout the year 4 rooms, 3 rooms in a lot with zero business interruption because I'm not doing 100% occupancy.
No.
I'm probably doing 65-70%
Yes.
occupancy.
Yes.
So those 4 rooms can be renovated.
So risk mitigation
Exactly.
that's an interesting thing. So we're talking about some of the things that's your secret sauce, your the things you'd advise. If I'm looking at buying a motel tomorrow, I've earned some money here at Resort
You're
Brokers
not
and I
going
want to be
anywhere, but
sorry.
yes.
Okay, well, we'll talk offline. But what would you advise me? I know a little bit. I've had some successful businesses. What are the things that I should be looking for when I'm looking for a motel? What are the top 3 things?
Yeah. So there are, as I said, there are 2 things when people enter into the motel. So for a brand new entrant, I always recommend, and not recommend, but we look into the motels have a consistent occupancy,
Yep.
good ADRs, already renovated, have a fresh look. Don't need to spend much money because when you're new entrant, you are also learning a business.
Of course you are.
So you want to
Yes.
focus more on learning the business rather than doing renovations and spending cash flow.
And
money
for in an industry and a business that you don't quite understand yet.
Because it takes
Yeah.
around 6 months, people understand this business very well.
That
why.
is so true.
6 months is too long.
You
even,
go
honestly.
2 weeks after they settle and
Correct.
they look at you and think, what have you
What
done?
have I done-
And
what have you
6
done to
months
me?
later they
Yeah,
get it.
Exactly.
So first up, you're looking for something that you can go and earn your stripes on.
Correct.
Learn the
Quite a
business.
straightforward
Yes.
business, right?
And,
Yeah.
and the good thing about the motor industry is such a nice softwares. You press a button, you got 24 months occupancy report comes. You got 24 months sales report comes. You can't fudge anything. No one, the operator, they can't do anything.
That's a very good point that you make about our industry. Whereas other businesses, you're sort of flying by your own
Correct.
ability to judge.
Yeah.
Whereas the mechanisms in place for the accommodation industry, and that extends across hotels, motels, and caravan parks, but also management rights,
Yeah.
is that there is a lot of due diligence that gets done along the way to
And
make
it's
sure
not
this
a
is
lot of
right.
cash anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
But also, when you're making every dollar that you take in cash, you're losing
yeah.
between if it's at least $3 or $10,
Correct.
$9 or $10. So
Absolutely.
really, it's beneficial to put everything through.
Yeah.
And there is due diligence process. So do you have a whole list of associates, like a team of people you
So
recommend?
this is one of the another success story why people are successful when they are owning a new business or motel business, because obviously a lot of homework, but apart from that is a strong team.
Yes.
You need to have
Strong
very good
team.
accountant,
Yes.
very good lawyer who does a due diligence,
A specialist, a specialist lawyer.
They are
Yeah.
specialized in
Yes.
motels.
Yes.
The lawyer specializes in motel, accountant specializes,
yes.
the finance broker specializes in motels.
We talk about it all the time. You wouldn't get a GP to do your heart surgery or any other example of that. It's specialists are key.
Yeah, and it's such a black and white thing. As I said, reports, you pull out all the reports from your post system,
Yes.
and you got everything in front of you.
Yes.
So nothing to hide there. And you
Yes.
go based on your occupancy report, your sales, your turnover, your multiplies. If you're buying a leasehold, your freehold, it goes. It's nice and smooth. And that's why I think the banks are also feeling a little bit more comfortable. I don't know, but that might be one of the reasons.
I think also because when they look over the industry, everyone's doing well.
Yeah.
When you go back to consistency, obviously post-COVID,
Yep.
there's been domestic tourism boom.
Yep.
I, like you, am very confident about the longevity of these businesses being sustainable for all
Yep.
the reasons we've discussed. But how far back are you going to try and look at 2 years?
Yeah.
Do you,
You
ever
mean- you
want to
mean
go
financially?
pre-COVID?
We have, in some cases, we have gone pre-COVID numbers
Yes.
and post-COVID numbers to
Yes.
figure out that what was the effect of COVID and
Yes.
after what the constituency is.
And
But
what's your opinion on that?
okay, so that's a very good question. So what is happening in the regional? So there are two models.
Yes.
One is a regional model, one is coastal model.
Yes?
So as you know, in regional, migration law of regional has changed significantly in last 5 years. Government want everyone to migrate to the regionals, not to the major cities. Because of the regional migration, your biggest challenge before, pre-COVID, was finding a cleaners in a
Yes,
small
staff.
town.
Yes.
The staffing. That problem is completely gone. Your regional migration, you got visas for that.
Yes.
Your sponsorships for that, and you probably would know about it.
Yes.
Accommodation industry is a hot industry for that sort of reason.
Absolutely.
And so there's been a bit of a shift, a societal shift
Correct,
that solved some of those
Some of the
bigger
issue-
problems
bigger
that you've had
problems,
along the
yeah.
way. Okay.
Not only that, a lot of infrastructure projects happening because of the migration and a lot of developments. A lot of infrastructure projects, state government, federal government is they are spending a lot of money in infrastructure projects that actually bring a lot of occupancy.
Absolutely.
Like for example, rail network you start from Brisbane, goes all the way to Adelaide. All these double parks, Forbes, all motels are full, always full. You can't find a space.
Always full. We've got a saying, coast for show, inland for dough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
You're
But
absolutely
you've
right.
got a lot of clients who have bought things on the coast too. How are they trading?
So it's a different model. So regional
Mm-hmm.
model, obviously, Christmas period is quiet because a lot of corporate clients goes away on holidays. While coastal models are very different.
Yep.
In winter time, they are quiet.
Yes.
You looking around 20-30% occupancy.
Yes.
But in coastal model, during summer period, not only the ADR goes up, but your occupancy you're trading at 80 to 90%.
Yes.
So that's a significantly up in that.
Yes.
On top of that, the coastal model, what we have noticed, have a good land value because you are close to water, near the beaches.
So
and
you
stuff like
look at the land value. See, isn't that interesting? We always say what
that. Only for coastal model.
only for coastal.
Only for coastal model.
So how much weight would you put on the land value? Obviously, then it's a client who's a long-term hold.
Correct.
But if it's a great prime site that maybe one day could be a development site,
Yeah.
what kind of yield value do you reckon that's got?
Yes. So yield is a little bit lower on the
What,
on the
1%,
coastal-
2%?
1.5% because we're looking for
2%.
very 2%.
Okay,
max,
good
but
to know.
we're looking at a very long term because
Yep.
until I'm operating that business, I'm not going into the development.
Yes.
So it's more of my business, how good business I'm operating, that will uplift my motel value anyway.
Yes, of
That
course.
regardless. That's the yield based throughout Australia.
Yes.
So if the motel is in regional town or the coastal town,
Yes.
how good is my business? How good is my occupancy?
And where's the opportunity? What can you do? How's it been operated?
Yeah.
So are you finding that coastal properties have been as consistent? What's the trend you've seen over the hundreds of properties
So-
your clients own?
Touchwood, my clients haven't come back and said, "Oh, my occupancy has gone down." It is keep increasing because the travelers are
Yep.
coming from overseas. A lot of time, and you see, its interest rate. And this I may be wrong, but this is my opinion. The interest rate is also a driven force, being motel being more busier and busier, because every time you don't go to a hotel for $500 or $600, and the standard of motel are also increasing, because these motels were 50-year-old, all
And
these
haven't
motels
been
getting
touched
renovated
for years.
Correct.
Yep.
So getting a new fresh look, hotel slash motel. A lot of motels I'm seeing is I don't see this as a motel. It's like a hotel.
So the experience of
Experience,
staying in the
exactly.
motel has lifted.
Lifted.
On the back of the fact that hotels have got more expensive. People have maybe got a little less money than they had yesterday, and so the requirement for motels has been higher, which then turns into businesses doing better.
You look at something like Halcyon House,
Yeah.
which was the first big top end one,
Yeah.
right? But there is some groups who have done some really cool
Absolutely.
retrofit outs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the rooms are big. 30 on average, 28, 30 square
30 square
meters.
meters, yeah.
They're normally solid as a rock.
Yeah.
So the bones are really good. And
Yeah.
often when they were built on the outside of the town. Now the town's grown around them.
Yeah.
So prime locations.
Locations, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's the case. Interestingly, Australians love a holiday.
Yeah.
And we are actually in
Very frequent holidays.
very frequent
Yes, we
holidays,
do.
but also we're an export.
Yeah.
Higher export, which
Yeah.
means we actually spend more money holidaying outside than inbound
Correct.
tourism,
Correct.
which is very rare.
And again, other thing, what I always tell my client, that why we not buy motel, why we bought motel. If you look at the population, it's 26 million population.
Yes.
And look at the country, 93% of the country is covered with vegetation. Only 7% where people live. But we need to provide the infrastructure, facilities. So I'm giving an example. A salesman for a fuel station,
Yes.
for a Cadbury, for example. He's a
Yes.
salesman for Cadbury. He goes in the regional area. He has to visit 10 service stations.
Yes?
He has to stay in the motel.
Has to stay in the motel anyway.
Exactly. So
That's-
in one day, probably he can cover 2 or 3 service stations.
Yes.
So he will be out for 4 days. So all these salespeople.
Well, that's our model.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
we've got 30 agents across the country. Everyone's got a territory. They go and see them, 4 times a year.
They're
So
travel.
they do runs and they just, 2 or 3 nights
So this
a week.
this brings us straight back to the original concept is like Maccas or motels.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. It makes business sense to be looking at motels.
Yeah.
Irfan, thank you very much for coming on board for Checked In with Resort Brokers today. If you could leave our audience with one sweet spot, one bit of secret sauce from your business, one piece of advice you'd actually offer for the people that are looking to be in motels or for operators that exist, what would that be?
So first thing, do your homework, your due diligence, and have a fantastic team of
Yes.
people around you, because those people will make sure that you're making an informed decision. And that's the.
I
the
could not
secret.
agree. Make
I
sure
think that's
you've
a
got
great way.
specialist.
There are specialists available in the market. A lot of people, they don't know. Sometimes they try to save $500, $1,000, and they go for a normal solicitor, and they
In
lose
the
the spot.
scale of things.
So
I thought
do
you were
your
going to say
homework.
use resort brokers.
Yeah.
Oh, that's also great advice, one
Yeah,
would say.
absolutely, absolutely.
So do your homework.
Yeah.
Right. Use a specialist team.
Specialist team.
And above all, use a resort brokers. I think that's
Exactly.
a pretty powerful statement. Thank you very, very much for
welcome.
joining us today.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Irfan.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you so much for joining us on Checked In with Resort Brokers. If you enjoyed the insights from this episode, we'd love your support with a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
And don't forget to hit subscribe on your favourite platform and stay connected with us on social media at Resort Brokers.
We're excited to continue this amazing journey with you. See you on the next episode.